Sensation and perception are fundamental aspects of how we experience the world. Every sound we hear, every image we see, every scent we detect, every texture we feel, and every flavor we taste begins with sensation. But the meaning we assign to those inputs, how we interpret and understand them, is perception. These two processes work together, moment by moment, to construct our awareness of reality. Sensation is the process through which our sensory organs detect external stimuli. This could be light waves entering the eye, sound waves vibrating in the ear, or chemical molecules interacting with taste buds or olfactory receptors. Sensory organs such as the eyes, ears, skin, nose, and tongue are specialized to receive particular types of input from the environment. They convert that input into signals that are transmitted to the brain. This process is purely physical. It is objective in the sense that it follows biological rules, involving receptor cells and neural pathways that are the same for all people. The receptors do not judge or interpret. They only register presence, intensity, and pattern. However, raw sensory data is not meaningful by itself. It needs to be interpreted. That is where perception comes in. Perception is the process by which the brain organizes and interprets sensory information, turning it into something coherent and usable. For instance, when light reflects off an object and enters the eye, it stimulates the retina. The brain processes that information to form an image, recognizing it as a tree, a car, or a face. This is not a simple one-to-one translation. It's a complex process that involves previous knowledge, expectations, attention, and context. An easy way to understand the distinction between sensation and perception is to think of sensation as data collection and perception as data analysis. Imagine you're walking through a forest. Your eyes receive light patterns, shadows, colors, motion. That's sensation. But when your brain interprets the tall shape with branches and green clusters as a tree, that's perception. If you hear a bird chirping, your ears are registering sound frequencies, but it is perception that tells you it's a bird, and perhaps even identifies the species based on memory and familiarity. The difference between sensation and perception becomes clearer in certain conditions. For example, take optical illusions. In those cases, the sensation remains the same. Everyone's eyes receive the same light stimuli, but different people may perceive the image differently. Some might see one shape, others another. This indicates that perception is influenced by more than just sensory input. It is also shaped by mental processes, learning, and personal experiences. Another example is found in people with sensory impairments or disorders. In cases of synesthesia, for instance, some individuals may perceive colors when hearing certain sounds. The sensory information is normal, but the perception is unique and unexpected. This again underscores that perception is not a passive reflection of the world, but an active construction of it. Perception also depends on attention. Sensory input is constant and often overwhelming. At any moment, our bodies are exposed to countless stimuli, yet we do not consciously experience all of them. Our brains select and prioritize, allowing us to focus on what seems relevant. If you're deeply engaged in reading a book, you might not notice background noise. The sound waves still reach your ears, but your brain filters them out, and you do not perceive them consciously. Cognitive psychology shows that perception is influenced by top-down processing and bottom-up processing. Bottom-up processing starts with raw sensory input and builds toward understanding. Top-down processing begins with expectations, prior knowledge, or context, and uses that to interpret sensory data. When you read a messy handwritten note, you might still recognize the words based on context. Your brain uses top-down processes to fill in gaps or resolve ambiguity, Conversely, when you encounter a brand new stimulus, you rely more on bottom-up processes. Cultural differences also shape perception. While sensation remains biologically similar across humans, perception can vary. What one culture might perceive as a friendly gesture, another may interpret as rude. Even basic visual perception is influenced by cultural background. Some studies have shown that people from different societies focus on different aspects of visual scenes. Western observers may focus more on individual objects, while East Asian observers may attend more to relationships and context. Perception is also subject to error. These errors are not just in illusions, but in daily experience. For example, eyewitness testimony is often unreliable, not because of dishonest reporting, but because of flaws in perception and memory. Our brains can fill in missing pieces or distort information without us realizing it. This is one reason why psychological research cautions against relying purely on subjective accounts when accuracy is crucial. Sensation can also be modulated by perception. Pain is a good example. The same physical injury might be felt differently depending on psychological state. Soldiers in battle may not perceive pain from wounds until after the danger has passed. This is not because the injury is less severe, but because the brain prioritizes survival over immediate pain sensation. This interaction is a reminder that perception is dynamic and constantly shaped by internal and external factors. Sensation and perception also involve adaptation. Sensory adaptation is when receptor cells become less responsive to constant stimuli. If you walk into a room with a strong smell, you notice it immediately, but after a few minutes, you barely register it. Your receptors are still exposed to the same chemical stimuli, but the brain deems it unimportant and reduces awareness. Perceptual adaptation is similar. It's the brain's adjustment to altered sensory environments. If you wear glasses that invert your visual field, after some time your perception adjusts to make the world appear upright again. This demonstrates the brain's remarkable flexibility. Understanding the relationship between sensation and perception has real-world applications. In design, advertising, and user interfaces, professionals aim to create environments that align with how people perceive information. In clinical psychology, treatment of phobias, trauma, or sensory integration disorders often involves modifying perceptual interpretations. Pain management, too, can involve altering perception through cognitive techniques. Modern neuroscience has provided insights into the brain regions involved in sensation and perception. The primary sensory cortices in the brain's parietal, temporal, and occipital lobes process incoming data. From there, information is passed to associative areas where interpretation occurs. These areas integrate inputs from multiple senses and link them to memory and language. When these regions are damaged, as in stroke or brain injury, people may retain the ability to sense but lose the ability to perceive correctly. It's also important to note that perception is not entirely individual. While subjective experience varies, people can agree on many perceptual realities because human brains share structural and functional similarities. This shared biology underpins collective understanding. Still, each person's perception is slightly different, influenced by their history, mood, attention, and mental state. Perception is the interface between the brain and the world. It is not a mirror, but a construction influenced by assumptions, expectations, and prior experience. Sensation provides the input, but perception gives it meaning. Recognizing this can make us more aware of our limitations. It reminds us that what we experience is not necessarily a complete or objective picture of reality, but rather a filtered and interpreted version tailored by the brain for practical use. Every moment of waking life is shaped by sensation and filtered through perception. We often take these processes for granted, assuming what we see, hear, or feel is simply how things are. But psychology reveals that our experience is not raw reality. It is constructed and interpreted, shaped by both the world outside and the mind within. Understanding this dual process allows for a more accurate grasp of human experience and helps explain why different people experience the same event in different ways. This knowledge also enhances our ability to question, reflect, and improve our own understanding of the world. Whether in communication, relationships, decision-making, or learning, awareness of how sensation and perception operate can lead to better outcomes. It is not only a foundation of psychology, but a fundamental part of what it means to be human. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content on human psychology, self-awareness, and mental growth.